Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the scale-up journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hello, Michael Horne, and welcome to ScaleUp Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, my name is Michael Horne, and I am here for Kidwells Group, which is about solicitors, accountants, loan, land banking, and what's in. So the What's In is a very exciting project, and I'll be focusing on that today, Granger, really, but then adding in experiences from my other businesses as well.
Brilliant. Wow. A huge range of businesses in terms of doing that. Maybe just give us a quick understanding of each of the different services then that you do for your clients.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, through the solicitors, then we look after everybody in business, really. So we do exactly the same as a high street solicitor, only we concentrate on doing it for business owners. That means referrals from family members and friends that don't have to be in business, but we don't work for legal aid or high street type work like that. So we'll look after all the way through from commercial contracting, setting up companies, helping people draft contracts, enforce them, dispute resolution. We'll do mediation, litigation, and we do boundary, just all of the areas that support business. We also are criminal solicitors, and we will look after people for the normal issues that they have on the high street. Perhaps they might be accused of an assault or sexual offense that might be historic or recent, or somebody in the family. And we look through all of those areas, and we'll look after people right through to money laundering, corrupt fraud practices. We get an awful lot of referrals from people who are already in the professions that see how we work. So other solicitors firms, barristers, police, people that have seen how Kidwells work, and they refer their friends, colleagues, and families to us. So I think that's quite a boasting point.
Wow, that's good. And referrals are a very important part of any business and its development and growth. And it's a powerful thing to have that level of referrals. So excellent. Yeah. So solicitors, what there was another list of other elements as well.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the solicitors. We've got an accounts company as well. So we've got chartered accountants. We look after, again, people in business and businesses generally. So do bookkeeping and end of year accounts, but we also do tax planning, etc. We help people that may be facing a little bit of a difficult time. Perhaps they need some advice on how to get through an issue, or perhaps they're setting themselves up to sell, or perhaps they're setting themselves up, they need to borrow money to replace equipment, or just those kind of things. And then we will help them structure their business in order to get the best out of it. Some people just run their business and they don't really have an exit strategy. And that's quite important, because if you're going to sell your business, then quite clearly you need to show the best that your business can be. Whereas if you're just keeping it for yourself, possibly there might be tax breaks that you make use of, which might not be as good on the balance sheet. So, there's different ways to operate within business. But again, we work with our clients and we get a lot of referrals. So we're very busy there. We also have a registered loans company. And so we assist people, not just people that come to us as clients within the accounts, but people that come to us through our marketing company, which I know we're going to talk about shortly. And We also have land banking, and we have commercial and residential buy-to-let. So we've got investment companies as well within the Kidwells Group. We also own a yacht. So that'd be interesting to talk about. We love the yacht. So we've a Garcia 45, Exploration 45. She's a high latitude sailing vessel.
Wow.
And very exciting. Yeah, well, I'll talk about that. You'll need your full hour for me to talk about that. So possibly Granger, we better just sail by that subject just to mention it. Yeah, but just to mention that we have it, I suppose, and that's an exciting project.
Yes, well, so many different companies that have grown up over, and you've sort of added on, I guess, in terms of doing that. So it'll be interesting when we talk about that journey in terms of that. So you've mentioned it a few times. So and that's where our initial connection came through. So what's in? So tell us about that.
What's in? So we've always marketed our own professional companies. And we've always had a marketing team to do that. And we have really been very good at attracting the kind of clients that we want within our group of professional businesses. And so over the time, we have been just speaking to clients, people that we meet, people like you, Granger, where you say, look, we've seen you, you're doing this. Perhaps those businesses come to us in some way and they like what we do. So people started to ask us how we got our social media presence and what we did about our videos and how we did this or that seminar, this networking. And so we came up with a plan to share that with our clients in order to help them. And within the COVID period, it became really quite important because people weren't out and about. Yeah. An awful lot of people were still trading. And a lot of people were very worried. We all lived through COVID, those of us that are still here. And of course, our best feelings go out to, our best wishes go out to all those families that lost people during COVID. It was an awful time. It was an awful time in business. It was an awful time personally for people. But lots of people were locked. They were either really being careful because of their own health issues. And as other people were out there possibly getting back into networking and marketing and meeting clients, others were still isolating because of fear of it. So really, we then started to step up what we were doing in the What's In, which hadn't really launched into the name What's In then. It was just a company which we call Kidwells Rated. And what we were saying within Kidwells Rated is that, look, we rate the people that we list on our website, on our directory. And if we're trading with them, that might be confidence enough for you to trade with them. And so that started to take off. We then started to recruit more personnel because we got busier and busier. And then we really evolved into the What's In group. So What's In is about what's in your area. So we've got what's in Herefordshire, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, Bristol, Oxford, and West Midlands. And we moved into all of those areas quite quickly. We operated in Herefordshire first, so we did that for 12 months. And out to the 10,000 businesses that there are in Herefordshire, which is pretty rural, so they're quite well spread out, we had 2,000 in the first 6 months or so join us. And so that was a lot. And so there was obviously an interest. People were really interested. And joining us means joining us on the directory. And within the directory, we do newsletters, which we call a business showroom. We help people with their social media. So we hook up with all the social media platforms, including Facebook all the way through to LinkedIn and everything in between. And we would be hooking people up in the local area. And that really took off very, very quickly. And not least of all, because we were using people who were expert at social media themselves. We have Anna, who I work with very closely, and you'll hear from me later just how good my team is. I absolutely love them. And I don't choose them, by the way, they choose me. So I get to work with everybody in all of the businesses, at some time. And I work with Hannah, and Hannah's got tens of thousands of followers in her own right on her own subjects that she operates through social media. And she's such a live wire. She's so lovely. And it's having people like that on board that really then inspire others, and training. So if you get a group of people together, 3 or 4 or 5 people, and they start sharing ideas, before you know it, they're creating new ways to do things. And they're just really great. So yeah, the team started working together. We were expanding really very quickly in the Herefordshire area, because through the solicitors, we've got a lot of contacts all over the country. So we started to move through into Worcestershire was our next launch. And we moved into Worcestershire. And of course, we knew quite a few people there who already knew what we were doing with our marketing arm. And they wanted to join. And then very quickly it went into Gloucester, and then Bristol, and then Oxford and West Midlands. So we're in those areas, but we will be running the What's In service out across the whole country. So that's the plan, and we're moving very quickly towards it.
And there's a very rapid growth in terms of that. So we'll definitely come back to that in a moment. So just sort of finish up in terms of the Kidwells Group, how big are you, total number of employees, that sort of, and is each one a standalone business? How do you sort of work?
Yeah, so we are a standalone business, and across the group, probably in Herefordshire, this area, in the companies that that I've mentioned to you, probably about 75 employees. So not massive. In the solicitors and in the What's In group, just in Hereford, there's probably about 50 people there. So we are expanding. The business plan that we have, that we're following, in fact, we're beating it. So we're coming very quickly to areas, and we're going to be at about 400 staff over the next 18 months or thereabouts.
Wow, that's quite a rapid growth in terms of that. So you must be doing something right. Yeah. So what do you think differentiates you? Yeah. What do you strive to be excellent at?
Oh, everything. We strive to be excellent at everything. In fact, our solicitors, we have got Lexcel, which is the Law Society's Excellence Award. So we have that, and we get it every single year. Thank you. And so we're a Lexcel firm. We offer advice, and our standards are excellent. We operate that across the board, but it isn't something that you have to strive for when you take staff on that have a passion for what they do, because they themselves want to be excellent. They want to deliver that themselves, and they have pride in their work. And yourself earlier on, when we were getting ready for this live stream, you were saying, how many people are joining us? Because I'm getting emails from everybody. And the truth is that everybody, we all get together and we all work towards the targets together. And so it doesn't matter if you're the managing director, if you own the business, or if you are, I don't know, and I'm going to say a videographer, because I've got videographers in the room with me at the moment, because we're recording now what we're doing with you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I work on a first name basis with these people. I listen carefully to their ideas. And more importantly, they listen to mine. And I think that that's really good. And between us, we build the plan. And the plan is, as you know, to roll out across the country.
Very, very exciting. And so, you strive then really around then the people and the people culture within your business. That's sort of what you're saying to me in terms of that. So how have you gone about finding the right people then? Because, it's not always just about, that you talked about they find you, but, how have you developed a process to finding people?
Well, again, it's quite right. They do find us. So people know people, and people like to trade with people. So all the social media guys know each other. We're in constant communication with social media people across the country that run their own thing, doing their own social media networking. That's how they know us. And I think that they just naturally move together. And so we've got I don't know, people from all over the country that are joining us. They just find us. So we're constantly being asked. I think at the moment we're employing, I think it's on average about one person a week, just in the social media team, in the what's in, and across the board, heaven knows. If you were to ask me to give you a figure of what our recruitment was even this week, I wouldn't know. 3 or 4 in the law firm, 3 or 4 or 5 in the what's in. I know that we've taken on another accountant. So we're growing, and we don't have to advertise much other than with the solicitors. Whereas solicitors, I think they like to use agents to go and look for their jobs. So we have a lot of interaction with agents, and but apart from that, across the board, people come to us.
Wow, people come to something new I've not really sort of heard before. So is that just because of, people know people, or is that because of the social media type activity you're doing out there in terms of the growth and what you're doing? What do you think is bringing then the right people that want to join and develop the success you've got?
Yeah, I just think that it's because they see what we deliver. And it's not just about work. We hear, don't we, quite often about this work-life balance, and it has to be some kind of a target. Whereas I don't think that that's right. If you've got to set out to do something, every day you set it as your challenge, then sooner or later you're going to get bored with the challenge. It's like a New Year's resolution, isn't it? Yeah. Where, I'm going to this, or I'm going to that. I'm going to give up smoking, give up drinking so much, lose some weight, go to the gym. Or by February, people aren't doing it anymore. They revert back to the way that they are. So I think that for us, it's about having people as they are. And we're not looking to achieve something different to what they achieve for themselves every day. And that means that they enjoy their work. And if they're enjoying their work, then productivity is good and results are good. And, you can work with those people. And I think that people really understand what work is about when they can see that they're achieving something as well for themselves. So we love training here. People are training all the time. So we have apprentices. We also have continued professional development within the professional teams, but also our legal secretaries, all of them training, even our receptionists training, our videographers training. Everybody is improving themselves in one way or another. And if they don't want to this month because they just want to do their job, no pressure. Just fine, come along, work in the team and deliver the outcomes. And that's good.
Well, it's rare to find, this level of discussion in such a large group of company, because a lot of companies, as they get bigger, they seem to lose that passion and that drive for people and people excellence. So, it's really inspiring to hear that coming from you, Michael, in terms of that, because that's one of the reasons that I personally set out to create my own business in terms of doing things, because I've worked in businesses where that passion is lost and it disappears. So that's
easy
really
to get
exciting.
lost, though. It's easy to get lost, Granger, isn't it? And
Yes.
lose sight of what it's about.
Yes.
And of course, anybody that has anything to do with business, smaller business, is where somebody works making widgets for somebody else, and they really want to make widgets themselves. So they think, I'll do this myself, and they start their own business. But before you know it, they're not making their widgets anymore. Yeah. Because they're having to do the administration around what it takes to do the widgets. And then they then have to join with somebody else that's making the widgets whilst they do the administration. And then they're no longer doing what they love. Yes. They're doing things to support other people doing what they love. And so there's a lot of confusion about what business is about. And I think that if you're in work and you've got a job that you've been paid for and you love doing your job, stay in your job. That's the best place to be. Really, you're an entrepreneur and you want to branch out and you have to go out and find your own way. Then you've got to understand that you're not going to be doing everything that you like doing every day.
Absolutely. Yes. And as the business grows, you've got to then develop your leadership skills, because actually you're now starting to lead and support people that are growing and developing. And over time, you've got to build your leadership skills to build other leaders within the organization and finding those and helping those doing. And so business growth, as you say, is not about the widgets and the fun that you used to have. It's about building a different type of passion and motivation that you have, which is growing and developing people through the business. So, yeah.
It's really hard, and there's not a formula for it. I see often on social media where they get, the picture of a group of people, and there's the guy climbing Everest saying, "Come on, everybody, you can do this," but he's leading. And then you get another one that says, "No, that's entirely wrong. You need somebody at the back that's going, 'Come on, everybody, we can go at this pace.'" And other people will say that is wrong. And so what is right and what is wrong in management and leadership is really difficult. And I think it depends on the kind of people that you have around you, on how they want to be led. Some people don't want to be led. They want to be a part of the team that's doing the leading. And in which case you end up with conflict if you're not careful, because all of those people will argue about which is the right track to take. So it's a very difficult subject. And because we're talking to Scale Up, thank you very much, Granger. Thinking about the word scale up it's extremely difficult. It's considerably more complicated than anybody would give credit to. And of course, you see them on Dragon's Den, don't you? And other type funding angels that go into businesses. And everybody says, well, I need a dragon for this or for that. But in truth, the divide between running a successful business, even if it's turning over millions, but to take it from that area of control where you as the owner can see every single part of it, and even if you're not doing it yourself, you're controlling it yourself, into that bigger level where you then trust the managers to deliver what it is that you want as an outcome. And then you want the people that are doing the work to understand that the directors are connected into what they're doing. And that's a very difficult message to send down. And we see lots of people, don't we? Lots of big companies over the years have tried this. I don't know. Let's talk about Google, where Google say, that the beanbags on the floor and just chill and do, does that work? Or is it stand-up desks where people can come in and stand up with the most modern of equipment, but they miss that interaction in some way? What is it that ties people together? And of course, it's people.
Yeah, absolutely. And people is the key, and creating that, I call it an environment within a business that allows people to flourish. You talked about, achieving their best. Yeah. And doing that is an art form. Yeah. And, you're talking about here that you've achieved that to, in terms of where you are at the moment, in terms of that sort of success. So let's sort of just wind the clock back a little bit then in terms of doing that. The Kidwells Group, where did it come from? How have you grown over the years? To where you are now, and really, what we're after is, what's gone right, what's gone wrong. Give us some thoughts of, if I'm a small business owner, maybe with about sort of 15 people, and I want to now thinking about the next level of growth. What are your thoughts? Give us your journey.
Okay, so there are some extremely complicated ratios in that. To go from, I think, the small business, which I call the garden shed or the spare room type business, where you're making your own widgets. People make pin money doing that. Some make a good wage doing that, but you can't really call that a business. And to scale your business means that you have to have a service that can be delivered through others that you might train to deliver. And then as you expand into the 5 to 10 people area, you've still got a grip on everything that's going on. But remember, you're not delivering the widgets anymore. So you've got to develop a passion for a different part of the business. And if that passion isn't there, don't go there. Don't expand there. Unless, of course, you're developing your business for a sale. if you can see somebody on the horizon that would be interested in buying your business, once you've established it at 10 people with some contracts, and that will enable them to buy you, and you put yourself in the way of those bigger businesses, then that might be some kind of a business plan for you. But when you get to the 10 plus, when you're scaling up, you've really got to understand your ratios of staff and support, because it isn't just about going and employing people to sit down at desks or stand behind counters or drive vans or whatever it is that you do. It's about, how does your business work? Who is needed to support that next person in order that that person can deliver the service or a product or whatever it is that they're doing? And for that, I have developed with my managers a training session where we talk about the business, and we populate a graph where we make up a hypothetical business, and we set out hypothetical objectives and aims, and talk about how staff are needed to support and who might be the most important, and how that turns on its head at the end, where the person you thought perhaps wasn't so important really is, and how that builds. And then when you get to the 10, to the 15, to the 20 people, how many of those people are needed in order to have, let's just even say, another 50% productivity on that which you started at 10 people.
Yeah.
Because you go through a period in your business that is a wasted period, where it takes a lot of actual energy and a lot of staff just to keep the momentum going without actually delivering anything considerably better than what you had before. And it's that transitional period as you go into the slightly bigger business, when you then start to move back into productivity that brings back profits. And of course, an element of your staff will be off holiday, unwell, paternity, maternity, etc., training. So you will have lost an element of your staff in those ways that just won't be productive to your business. So you've got to plan for that. You've got to understand it. And for that, you need a business advisor that can help you. And I see that there's a lack of those kind of business advisors, people that have got the experience in taking a very good, healthy, smaller business and taking it successfully through the growth into a slightly bigger business, 20 to 30 or 40 people, and the HR that's required for that. Even dealing with pension, you'd think that that would be quite easy, but it's not. It takes staff, and that means that your ratios have to be right. So I think that it's a combination of all of those elements, but you have to understand how big you need to be before the ratios turn back into profit.
Yeah.
Because if you stop before that, then what happens is you're just burning cash flow. And what that means is you become critical on cash flow, which generates stresses. And the second you generate those kind of stresses that aren't planned for within that business, that's where you change the business profiling. That's where you change the atmosphere of the business. And businesses that are stressed because of cash flow, you can tell them as soon as you walk through the door, because the emphasis is more on the bill rather than the service or the product. And that's the change that people need to avoid. And they don't know it's there. It's a pothole in the road. They don't know it's there until they are driving into it. And then all of a sudden, the damage to the business. So there are those difficulties in moving forwards. And of course, we've experienced those in our group. So I can speak with experience of that. And the way that we get through that is we are open and honest with staff. Long gone are the days where you don't tell your staff what is going on. They need to know. They need to know what the issues are that are coming up in the next quarter, perhaps launching a new service in a new area. And so you sit down with your staff and say, these are the difficulties that we foresee. And if you see something that we can't see, tell us. And of course, that's not clever Michael Horne or even clever Alan Sugar or clever somebody else. That comes from Henry Ford. So Henry Ford, right back in the day when he was putting together teams to produce the motor car, and he set it all up with his ideas, which is good. Well done. But then he said to the staff on the production line, how do you think this can be done better? Tell me. And there was a suggestion box. And from that suggestion box, developed the production line, which probably Tesla are still using today, probably more robots and computers than people, but it's still the same type of production line where those ideas are all coming in. And that's the way we do it here. Ask people that are doing the job, what is it that you can see that I haven't yet seen? Help me help you.
Wow. Personally, my background is in manufacturing and lean and continuous improvement, and what you've just described actually is very true in terms of Ford invented, as you say, the suggestion scheme. However, Ford abandoned it many years later, but Toyota took it in-house, and Toyota built it into what they call the Kaizen way, the Toyota way. And the history shows that actually the growth comes when you actually inspire your people and help your people to make all those small improvements. And we encourage that every day, all the time. So yeah, that's very true. And then talking about the scale up journey, we talk about exactly that in terms of the scale up journey. As you go to the next pillar, which is based on the number of people that you need, absolutely, to have that positive cash flow and that profitability, we call the part in between the valleys of death. Yeah, because
right.
because that's exactly what happens. You just described exactly how we described the valleys of death, where if you get it wrong, the cash flow will actually potentially kill the business. But you've described it actually putting the stress in the business, and then you start focusing on the wrong things because actually you're so worried about cash, you're not actually getting the business out of the trouble that it needs to, which is the people are there that can really help you do that. So yeah. That's really inspiring and really interesting. You've gone through that and can see that, and now you help others. And I like the idea of this model, the model that you have, and you work with your leadership teams to actually build a fictitious company and see how that happens. I mean that's really clever, really thinking. So how as you've built things, how would you go about then advising your leaders, to think about what the right things are to do next in a business and business growth?
Well, I think that when we're talking about the valley of death, I've never heard it called that, but I totally get it. As you were saying, I totally, absolutely get it. And I see lots of businesses failing because of that. So I think that the managers have to understand that there has to be an objective. There has to be somewhere that you're going to. You have to shoot further than this week or this month's billing or next month's new client, or you've got to be going further than that. And I think that clever managers nowadays aren't really managers, are they? They simply work with the team and inspire them. I will often say to people when I'm in conferences, I'm in meetings with them, that really a good business is like Second World War submarine. And I'll describe why. Because on that submarine, you're out at sea. There's nobody to help you. That's it. You're in an isolated unit. You can't just pop up and say, okay, it's game over. Let's have a break. Because there's got to be a navigator. There's got to be a captain. There's got to be an engineer. There's got to be a torpedo man. There's got to be a cook, a chef. There's got to be maintenance. There's got to be, and without any one of those people, the whole thing stops working. And then what's the point of it? In the case of the submarine, the job is to go somewhere and sink something with a torpedo. And if the torpedo man's asleep when you get there, why did you bother getting there? If the navigator doesn't quite pay enough attention to what his compass is saying and you end up somewhere else, then you fail as well. And if the captain actually can't bring everybody together and make them work in as a machine to get them there, then nothing will work. And how far will you go? But you'll notice, I think, that from the films where you see these very brave guys that were out there on both sides of the war, where actually the captain doesn't wander around being saluted every day. He's as dirty as the rest of the guys, and he sleeps on the odd patterns that they sleep. So he is one of the team. But when he speaks, people listen. But the important thing is that when other people speak, he listens. So I think that that's modern business. You've got to look at yourself as being isolated. Your bank in the day, I don't know, I'm considerably older than a lot of the people I'm working with. The management crew here are all quite young. They say that about police officers, don't they? But if you think that they're young, you're getting old. So I think I must be old. But I remember going back in the day where I started business after leaving school, and you would perhaps go to your bank manager, who I knew quite well, and you'd go to your accountant, or you go to your mum and dad. You go to somebody in that close group that knew more about life than you knew at that time and were connected to other people. But in modern day business, Granger, who can you go to?
Yeah.
You are in isolation. You're in your own business. And there's lots of new things coming along. Social media, even though we're all used to using it with a post here and a post there, it's considerably more complicated than what anybody realizes. We've got artificial intelligence that is doing the algorithms. Algorithms, what a word. Who understands them? Because they change each and every day. So you've got to look at the trends. And the only way to look at the trends is to have the people in your submarine, your ship, that are looking at the navigation of where you're going and reporting back and saying, I've noticed that this is going on, Captain, and have the freedom to do that and be able to come in and talk about it. And then you've got your overall goal, your target where you need to be. But along the way, you've got to change depth every now and again.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with the tide every now and again, which is pushing you off. And for that, you need the people. So the whole idea about business, really, it doesn't matter how big you are. Just imagine your submarine having 400 people in it, because that's in isolation. There's nobody else outside that can help you. It's the help has got to come from within. There's lots of people that will prey off you, Granger. Professionals, banks, others, they will see if you're in need of assistance, and they'll come along and offer it for a price. But you've got to go and hunt the people that will look into your future with you. And then what do they know about your business, really? Whereas the managers within it that feel it and understand your business, they're the people, they're the experts. And of course, we offer our experts to other people. So other businesses that might be suffering in their business because they're not getting their new clientele, their new customers, and they might come to us and say, help us with more exposure. Well, we've got the experts to do that. So if we've got the experts internally, why wouldn't we listen to them?
Yes.
You'd be a fool not to.
And I just wanted to build on that concept. I mean, that's fantastic. I love board games, and there's actually a fantastic board game where you play two submarines facing off to each other and finding each other, and exactly what you described it. There's all four of you against the other four. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's a fantastic analogy. And I was just thinking in terms of, you the help comes from within, and actually you talked about, people will prey on you. Interesting terminology in terms of that. But actually, if your people are passionate, you've already mentioned it. You send them on the training. You let them go and find that information that exists out there, because all the information you need to drive that submarine exists. Somebody's done it before. There's lots and lots out there, as well as being creative, the new ways of doing it, but it already exists there. So sending your people out to do that training and bringing that knowledge back in, so they've got the passion and the structure, I think that enriches that model very much so. So yeah, that's fantastic. I love that.
The thing that we talk about and guard against internally is the critical person risk. And it's a real risk in a lot of businesses, especially as they scale. And so you have to understand, you've got to do that analytics on your business. Who is the critical person? And if it's one person, why?
Yeah.
Because that's quite fatal.
Yeah.
So if that person isn't in, how does this operate? So it's no good just having a captain that knows what your submarine is doing. The team have to know. So in the event that the captain, for whatever reason, becomes indisposed, perhaps he sleeps past his watch, I don't know. And the team have to know the direction. So dealing with critical man as well as your scaling, training other people, getting your managers to understand the direction that you've all agreed to. Then you have to imagine this, I suppose, and they don't know. Is it about building the pyramids? You can't have 400 people pulling in different directions because the stones will just lie on the floor, and all you'll end up with is a lot of tired people. So you've got to have a direction. Everybody's got to be working towards a goal, and you've got to understand what that goal is. And then you've got to encourage people to understand what role they play in achieving it.
Yeah. So let's just go back a bit to what's in. So what's in, you've got this amazing growth plan in terms of doing that. That came from an idea then inside the business, didn't it? In terms of, well, we've got this capability, other people are asking for it. So how did you go about deciding, yes, let's build a business around our internal department, which is our marketing team? I guess that's where it came from.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid that was me. So I came up with the idea, and being a person that totally didn't understand social media at all, I text. That was it. I think WhatsApp was brand new to me, and we would email. So I know about emails, but then it dawned on me that so many of the people that I worked for as a solicitor or I was working with in business advice, they too didn't really understand what social media was about. And so why wouldn't we do it for them and with them? Why wouldn't we set up a social media team and invite them to join us? And if they joined us, we would then share their content and engage them with new people. And so that was the idea, really. But having the idea on its own without the skills, without the technical skills to deliver it, is really not very good. Of course, we knew that the Wright brothers wanted to fly until they actually got around to getting somebody that could build that lightweight little engine and whatever to get them into the sky. Yeah. It didn't work for them.
Yeah.
So I had the thought of how what's in might look. And so I employed somebody to come along and build me a little website, and then attached to the website Facebook and different forums and interact in that way. And then slowly but surely, we just made notes about how this website, which turned into a directory, really wasn't working because it didn't share in this way, or it didn't easily expose in that way, and didn't interact with the social media in this way. And slowly but surely, the team were taking over from me. The website developer that I employed was saying, look, you need to add this and this and this. And for me, that was French. I didn't understand it. So I said, do it then. If you think that's going to work, you do it. And then we needed to employ somebody else, and then a social media person to just talk on social media because the people were busy uploading onto the directory, and they were talking in this code. And it reminds me, actually, was it Google or was it Apple or some other big firm that had two supercomputers that were just talking to each other? And the owner said, can you speak in English, please? And the computer said no. So they had to unplug them. Wasn't that only a year or so ago? But I feel like that with our social media team, because they talk in this technical rhythm of buzz, and they talk about what's going on. And the only thing that comes out for me is what I need to achieve as a businessman, which is contacts. So that's what I need to achieve. I suppose it's like, I don't know, Christopher, who was the machine that Alan Turing built to beat the Enigma. And nothing made sense to anybody other than you turn this little dial and it all went clunk, 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 clunk. And then at the end of it, it spat out a number, which really worked for the decoding of the Enigma. Isn't that the same with social media and algorithms? And isn't that the same with AI? So I'm very lucky in that the people around me understand this machine. And when I say I want more following in this area as a businessman, then they say that's fine. And they plug in and they do the things that move the algorithms around. And then I get those contacts. And that's the way that it works for our customers, for our clients. We say to them, you want more exposure in this area? Tell us. We've got the experts that totally understand this, and they will get you the exposure in the area that you want to be in. All you have to do is join the team, join the directory, and then we will work to achieve that. And it works very well indeed. And that's really good for me. And as those people are growing and talking their technical way to each other, more people join in, and the team has grown that way.
Wow, fantastic. One final question before we sort of get to the sort of summing up point. Let's go back to the yacht. What, you got a yacht in the group? What's that about? Wow.
Have you got another hour, Granger, to speak about this?
we got a few minutes.
Okay, so what is it that you would like to know about our yacht?
Well, how did that come about? You know, I can understand the logic and the sort of growth behind the other businesses, and then moving into social media in terms of the logic of what's in and where that came from. But where did the yacht come from?
Well, yes. Okay. So, I'm a pilot as well, so I fly fixed and rotary aircraft. Perhaps we'll do another hour on that one day, and my investments in aviation and etc. So perhaps one day we'll do that. But for yachting, I love education, and I like being around people that like to learn. So that for me, that's quite a passion. I think education is the best thing for everybody. And so I wanted an education and started to sail. And so I worked my way through day skipper, yacht master offshore, and now I'm a yacht master ocean. So the idea is that we have purchased a yacht. She's very specialist. So she's 45 feet aluminium with water pipe compartments, lots of redundancy, double systems here, there, and everywhere. And she's a high latitude boat. So she's got a pickup centerboard. So we can take this boat, which is quite special, into about 1 meter of water and still be able to float. So that means that we can go around the ice packs, or we can go up on the shores. And that's the intention, is that this yacht will be doing those kind of trips with people that fancy joining us for doing that. So if it inspires people, if they want to be on board with that, then we'll invest and purchase more. But these are very specialist yachts. These aren't the kind of yachts that you see in the local marina that you might do your flotilla holiday around Turkey or Greece, or I don't know, in the Med somewhere. So that's the yacht company, really.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Michael. That's really interested in terms of where that came from and what you're going to do with it. So 5 years time, if we're meeting again in 5 years and we're looking back on the last 5 years, what's happened to make those 5 years successful, both for professionally in the business and for you personally?
Okay. So I understand already that I'm a dinosaur. The modern business means you need, I think, a good understanding of all of these technical tools that we've been talking about. So for me, I have created a board of directors, and they will be taking over the majority of my slots. So they will be directing the different companies and moving them forwards. And I will just have a seat as a director on that board. So certainly within 5 years that will have happened. It's already started. And more sailing, probably more flying, looking after my favorite people, clients that I work with in business. I love business. I love education, as you can tell.
Yeah.
My education self, I'm an engineer, I'm a mechanic, I'm an ocean yacht master, a solicitor, pilot, blah, blah, blah. So I love to meet people and learn from them and achieve qualifications and generate business with those people. So I want the freedom to go and do that. Yeah, I want to see the Kidwells Group grow. And the people that are heading that up at the moment is Alan, my son, Emily, my daughter, and Sarah Late, who has worked in the Kidwells Group for now 7 years and understands ethos of what linking all these companies together is about.
Wow. Brilliant, Michael. What a fantastic conversation. We've really sort of drilled down into, the scale-up journey, as we call it, and understanding that. You described it absolutely brilliantly in that, and how you've even taken that and built your own model to help train and businesses to understand that. How you've grown the Kidwells Group and the structure of it. You've even now got a yacht. I just think that's inspiring in terms of that. But that real sort of understanding of the nuts and bolts of a business and seeing opportunities are there, and you've taken that now with what's in and the growth and the development of what's in, and the way you've scaled that so quickly. Finding the right people is that passion of yours. I can really see that, and understanding how people come together and can inspire themselves and inspire the business to grow in terms of doing that. But I think the key learning through all of this, through this conversation, you've mentioned it so many times, is this focus on training and education. And I think that's so important, that business leaders, business owners, as you develop and grow your businesses, no matter what's going on, if you're not bringing in that outside knowledge and capability into your business within your people and inspiring them through education, is absolutely. And you just mentioned that at the end in terms of your own personal growth and what you want to do in terms of doing that. And that is, I think, is one of the key things. So many businesses lose sight of that, but you haven't, and you've enriched your business for it. So thank you so much for the amazing discussion today. What I'd like to do is finish off with a quick fire round, if I may. Okay. So here we go. If you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, wow. You did give me notice that question was coming up, and I don't know. I think, but for me, I grew up in a family that were self-employed pretty much. And I think that I was very headstrong. I think that if I could go back, if I could speak to that young man as he was leaving school, it would be slow down a little bit, just slow down a little bit, because my life has been a little bit of a whirlwind, bashing through business, building, just the businesses that we've spoken about. There are many more, but these are just in the Kidwells Group. And so I think that to take the time to just take the time would be a good thing to say. I don't think he'd listen.
But yes, a great piece of advice. Books, do you any books you recommend?
Oh, books. So I used to read books when I was much, much younger. And then it moved from engineering books and aircraft as I was starting to fly. And then it moved into law text as I started to study the law. And so I think that in this modern world that we have now, it's podcasts rather than books per se. And there is somebody that I think anybody could gain some inspiration from. And his name is Doug, and he is in America, and he's built his own boat. And for anybody that's interested in going and looking at this, I would just recommend that you go. And it's Sailing Vessel Seeker. And Doug has built it from the ground up. He taught himself to weld, and he's welded it, but he's taught himself to cast for the propellers. He's taught himself to build electronics. He's done everything. And I followed him over the years that he's taken to build, and he's now put the boat on the water and he's sailing it. And his whole drive is about using this boat for ocean research. So for students to come on board and to study the oceans and take samples. And it's a Chinese junk, so it's got the sails in that configuration. And I think that when I get a minute, when I get that time off, then I like to watch his latest video on what he's doing next, because he's a great inspiration. So Doug from Sailing Vessel Seeker is the guy to go and look at, I think.
Awesome. Thank you for that recommendation, and really inspiring in terms of that. Who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
Wow, depends. I think it depends. So early days, it would have been people like Richard Branson. because Richard Branson was growing a brand that if it had Virgin on it, you could trust it. And I really enjoyed that because it meant, I think that it's been off the rails. Probably it got too big and more people involved, and perhaps Mr. Branson isn't involved in it directly, possibly. But in those early days, if it had Richard Branson's name on it with the Virgin logo, then you could trust it. But I think that things have moved on. And I think clever, really super clever people, Elon Musk, those kind of people, when you talk about the business that I generate, really, I'm God and shed business to those people. He does things that you don't even know about. So setting up a mining company because he doesn't think that people build enough tunnels so that people can gain access to areas. Tesla, right or wrong about the batteries, that's another discussion, going to electric. But overall, what about SpaceX? And again, I think without knowing what Elon Musk was doing, I think I was doing the same thing. And what Elon Musk does is he employs the experts to do the experts' jobs, and he learns from them. And so I think that if I could be lucky enough, anybody in the world, anybody ever in the world, I'd like to sit down with Elon Musk even for 10 minutes and just have a cup of tea.
Yeah, he's a very inspiring person. Being an engineer as well, I follow SpaceX, and SpaceX originally came as an idea to buy a couple of ICBMs from the Russians to send a probe to Mars. That's where it started from. And when the Russians turned him down because they laughed him out of Russia, he said, "Right, I'm going to build my own rocket engine." And he found the people that did exactly that, as you rightly said.
Well, of course, fantastic. He only had 100 million. He says, and when he was on his, I think it was his 4th launch, if that launch would have failed, it would have been done.
Yeah.
He had nothing left.
No, that's right.
And I think that somebody that can do that, just put everything in, life, soul, and their own money on something that is just so advanced, and that's quite amazing. Like him or not like him.
Yeah.
And people will go one way or the other. But I just seem to like the honesty of the man in that he says, I don't know, but there's an answer. And I like that.
Brilliant. And final question, Michael, how can people get hold of you?
I'm real easy. My mobile's on the internet. It's on all of our websites. I answer every single call that comes. If I can't get it there, I'll phone you back. I answer all my emails. And so if you want me, my contact details are absolutely everywhere. Just look on any of the Kidwells sites and you'll get me. If you want to chat, nice cup of tea, I absolutely love that. If there's something that I'm doing that can help you, then I'll tell you how I do it. And I do that for free. If people want to know, there's no secret. I do it this way. These are the people I use. If we can help you and you want it, we'll agree a price that you can afford. But to contact me, I love it. I'll talk to anybody.
Michael Horne, thank you so much for this conversation today. It has been inspiring of talking about how to successfully grow a business by using and helping your people to become amazing. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, Granger. Thank you for the invite.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.